All right, welcome back everybody to Cruising Complete. Your host Barry here with this week's cruise news updates. We got a lot going on again this week. We got Royal Caribbean and Carnival Cruise Line canceling more cruises. We got Norwegian moving ships to other locations. We have the governor of Florida suing the CDC over allowing ships to start cruising out of Florida. So a lot of news going on this week. Let's cruise into it. So out this last week, Virgin Voyages canceled all their sailings leaving out of the U.S. through August. When it first came out, it was kind of surprising that they canceled that far in advance. But then shortly after that, they released information that they're going to be moving the Scarlet Lady to the UK to do sailings out of the UK. Now, Virgin Voyages, they only have the one ship right now, the Scarlet Lady. They haven't had any paying passengers on this ship yet, and they're probably ready to get going. So not a surprise, again, that they're moving into a market that they can start sailing in the summertime. Royal Caribbean and Carnival came out this week and canceled all June sailings for leaving out of the United States ports. So Royal Caribbean is still going to be leaving out of the UK on those ships they have scheduled over there, Singapore, the Bahamas, Bermuda, all their other ships that they've started in the fleet or plan to start in the summertime, those are still going to go. They haven't canceled those. It's only their U.S. sailings. And it's not really a surprise that Carnival canceled June either. Christine Duffy came out this week and said that they're trying to put more pressure on the CDC and is saying now that they're going to be forced to leave U.S. ports and go somewhere else if they're not getting cooperation from the CDC. The CDC released their new guidelines last week, but the cruise lines are not happy with it. They're saying it's undoable, there's no way it can be done, it's unfeasible, so they're not happy. They're not going to go along with the guidelines and do the guidelines. It's pretty much impossible with the whole 12-hour rule at the ports and everything. All the information is on the Facebook group page, so if you want to go out on there and check out any of the news stories this week, it's got a full detail of each individual story that came out this week. And there's a lot of information in that one about the CDC and their new guidelines. Now, Norwegian came out this week and said that they're moving a few of their ships around in their fleet. They're going to have a ship sailing out of Greece, a ship sailing out of Jamaica, a ship sailing out of the Dominican Republic. Now, all of these ships will require vaccines for everybody. There's no exceptions with this with kids. Some of the other cruise lines that have started, like Royal Caribbean, for instance, is requiring vaccinations for everybody 18 and over, and under 18 are only requiring a negative COVID test. Well, with Norwegian, you have to have the vaccination. Even if you're a kid, if you can't get the vaccination, you cannot sail. They were very clear about with Norwegian on these particular sailings. So one of the big stories that came out this week was the CDC after they released their guidelines. They've been getting a lot more pressure from CLIA. The cruise line executives have been mounting more and more pressure on the CDC because they say their new frameworks is not doable. It's not feasible. They can't afford it. It's not doable. You had Governor Ron DeSantis in Florida come out and file a lawsuit against the CDC. You can probably expect Texas to follow suit with that and join in on that lawsuit as well. Maybe some other states across the nation that have cruise ports, maybe Alaska will follow in that as well. We'll just have to wait and see. But there's been a lot of pressure mounting against the CDC to get cruising going. Now, the CDC did make comments that maybe we expect it to start by midsummer if they jump through all these hoops. I don't see the CDC just allowing that. So one of the big things I've noticed though with the whole argument about cruise ships and why cruise ships are treated differently than this by the CDC than airlines industries or other forms of travel. So we're going to kind of break down some differences of those other forms of travel and compare them to going on a cruise. Because one of the big things you hear is, well, cruises you're on packed in with 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 other people for 5, 6, 7 days at a time, maybe longer. But if you go on an airplane, you're only on an airplane for what, 2, 4, 6, some maybe international flights could be longer, but your typical domestic flights 2 to 6 hours, somewhere in that range. So you're not with these people for extended periods of time. So we're going to do a little exercise that's going to break down different types of vacations. Number one, we're going to do a cruise vacation. Number two, we're going to do an all-inclusive resort vacation. And number three, we're going to do just a domestic vacation in a city where you go fly in and you stay in a hotel for a week and fly home and do activities while you're there. And then there's also camping. There's other forms of travel, but we're just going to use those basic three for this exercise. So the first thing you're going to do when you plan this vacation, you're going to fly there. If you don't live there close by to be able to drive, you're going to fly there. So you're going to go get on an airplane with a couple hundred people for a few hours, right? That's okay. That's open. You're able to do that right now. Now, let's say your all-inclusive resort. When you get off that airplane, you're going to go to your resort, essentially your hotel room, with 500 other hotel rooms around you. Put your luggage up, you're going to unpack, do whatever you need to do for your vacation. Same thing if you go stay at a hotel domestically, you're traveling around the country, whatever, and you're staying in a hotel, you're going to go stay at a hotel room with a couple other hotel rooms around you, okay? You go get on a cruise ship. You're essentially staying in a small hotel room on a cruise ship with thousands of other people. So a lot more people possibly on a cruise ship than maybe some of your big resorts have a large amount of people, but it's a little bit bigger than a cruise ship. So we'll take that comparison into, you're in a little bit tighter quarters on a cruise ship than you would be on like a resort or a hotel. Typically the rooms are a little bit bigger, at least on those. For the majority of the rooms, some of your suites on cruise ships are a little bit bigger. So we got that going on. We're going to our cruise ship. We're getting unpacking. We got in our room, okay? So, but the cruise ships have this standard of they're packing everybody in like sardines. So after, let's say you go to your resort and you unpack, and what do? Say you want to go get lunch. So you go to one of the restaurants at the resort, indoors, and you order your lunch with a bunch of other people at the restaurant, okay? Say if you go stay at a hotel somewhere domestically, you go to your hotel room and unpack, it's time for lunch, you're going to go to a restaurant and eat lunch more than likely, or just have something there in your hotel room indoors, okay? Get on a cruise ship. It's time to eat lunch. What are you going to do? You're going to go to a restaurant, you're going to go, one of the different restaurant options on the ship, and eat lunch indoors, okay? Now say when you get done doing these activities, what are you going to do next? Well, if you're staying at an all-inclusive resort, maybe you're going to go to a bar, get a drink. That could be indoors or outdoors. They have indoor and outdoor bars at a lot of these resorts. Same thing at a hotel. A lot of hotels have bars indoors. Some of them have little pool bars outside. Same thing on a cruise ship. Some of them have bars indoors. Some of them have bars outdoors. Now, is every person that's in that cruise ship going to be at that particular bar you're at? No. Maybe a couple hundred people. Same thing at a resort. Same thing at a hotel. Maybe a couple hundred people. Not everybody's going to be at that one bar. Some of those bars on that cruise ship are outdoors, so you're not packed indoors with 6,000 people like everybody keeps saying. It's very possible to go on a cruise ship with 6,000 people and you don't ever cross paths with 3,000 of them just because the cruise ships are so big. So you hear this whole thing saying, well, on cruise ships you're packed indoors with 6,000 people for a week at a time. That's not true. That's a false statement. That's an ignorant statement. Sorry for being blunt, but it's ignorant. That if you've ever been on a cruise, you know this. You go on a cruise, a lot of the activities are outdoors. You have your pool deck. A lot of your newer ships, let's take the Oasis class ships from Royal Caribbean, for example. You got the big Central Park open air area, the boardwalk open air area. You're not packed in like sardines indoors with a bunch of these people, okay? You have sea days and port days. You're getting off the ship and you're moving around outdoors, going and doing excursions, going and doing shopping. You're not packed in indoors for the entire length of your cruise. And that's what you keep hearing people saying, well, that's why they're treated differently, is because you're packed in with these people for a prolonged period of time. The only time on a cruise ship that you're packed in for a prolonged period of time is when you go to your stateroom to sleep. That's going to be the longest you're in a stateroom, 6, 8 hours, depending on what you like to do on vacation. When I go on a cruise ship, I don't ever sleep for more than 4 or 5 hours because I'm ready to get up and go. But just saying, 6 to 8 hours. Same thing as a resort. You go stay at a resort, you're packed in your hotel room for 6 or 8 hours. Same thing if you go stay at a hotel. 6 or 8 hours, you're packed in your hotel room. There's hundreds of other hotel rooms. What's the difference between doing that and doing that on a cruise ship? Well, they say the filtration system. Well, the cruise ships upgraded their filtration systems, and it's actually probably safer than going and staying at an actual hotel or resort now. So that statement really doesn't line up with the way things are now. Any activities you do on board, you're going and doing the water slides when you're on a cruise. If you're at a resort, you're going to the water park. What's the difference? That's the same thing, isn't it? You're outdoors, you're doing water slides, water park. You can't do it on a cruise ship, but you can do it at a resort. Same thing, same activity. Makes 0 sense, none at all. Any of the activities that I've done on a cruise ship, you go to the theater and watch a show, you're in that theater for maybe an hour and a half on a long show, 2 hours maybe. What's the difference in that than going and sitting in a movie theater for 2 hours? You're not packed with these people for 7 days straight in a movie theater. You get out of that movie theater, what are you going to go do? You might go up to the pool deck and get some fresh air. You might go to the promenade deck. You might go, get off the boat if you're at port and go do an excursion. You're not stuck indoors with these 6,000 people the entire week of your cruise the way they're making it sound. There's so many options for you to be outdoors in open air areas where you don't even run across the path of other people. I've been on a cruise with groups of people before, and you can go 2-3 days without seeing any of them because the cruise ships are so big. They're like resorts at sea. It's not like you're stuck with 6,000 people on a little yacht. So I just kind of wanted to do that comparison so people could understand all these other segments of travel are open. Cruise ships are not open. There's no need that cruise ships still need to be shut down when you can do all of these activities on land, but you can't do these activities on a cruise ship. There is no difference, none at all. So I'm going to stop there. I'm not going to continue ranting on. I just wanted to kind of give my insight as to why I think they're treated differently. Obviously, with this scenario that I just painted, they are in fact treated differently. So hopefully things will get jumping between the lawsuit and what's going on with CLIA pushing for CDC to get rid of their no-sail order essentially. And don't forget that that public health emergency that's set to expire on April 20th. If that expires, none of this matters. So let's hope for that as well. In the meantime, guys, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Hit the like button. It really helps us out a lot. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next week.